All right, we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. We're here to talk about everything in terms of professional wrestling, all the action inside and out, backstage news, curtain drama. We also talk about WWE, AEW, New Japan Professional Wrestling. If it makes major news headlines in terms of the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1010%. We talk about superstars, inactive statuses, also injury updates, the contract negotiations, extensions, or new signings. So, yeah, if you're really into wrestling, right here's the perfect start to become a wrestling fan. Tune into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. All right, before we move on to our next segment, we're going to talk about some WWE NXT. Before we do any of that, I want to remind you guys if you have a burning question or a hot take in terms of professional wrestling or just something you've been dying to get off your chest here at the GSMC Sports Network, we are all ears. We are all about keeping the conversation lively, making sure your voice is part of the mix, so don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat box. And if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concerns gets noticed on the show, why not use that super chat? It's a dollar sign below the chat box. Just go ahead and hit that up. Um, and whatever you put down inside that box is going to be featured on the show so we can have a nice little back and forth, friendly debate about it. It's going to be featured on the show. Also, it's a great way to support our channel, support the GSMC Sports Network. So all this amazing content, there's other podcasts besides the WWE or besides the Wrestling Laureate podcast. We have, football, basketball, college football, many sports podcasts, so make sure you support those guys by adding to the super chats or super stickers, whatever however you like to prefer, to keep this content that you guys love going. So, coming at you guys Monday through Friday. So, make sure you guys donate. It's pretty awesome. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep this party going. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And once again, if the super chats are not your thing, you can still hit up the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Just remember to Superman punch that like a subscribe button to the show. Follow the show. Follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But of course, criticism is all part of the game in terms of talking sports, especially in terms of talking professional wrestling. So feedback is a gift. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat, or just give me a friendly shout out of where you're listening from today. 1,010%. All right, so let's go to move on to our WWE NXT preview. Going to be live in St. Louis. Should be pretty awesome. We're going to obviously see Trick Williams address the NXT Universe. The new NXT champion, Trick Williams, is by all means one of the best talents I've seen in NXT for, in quite some time. And, I'm not trying to, throw shade at all the new people like drafted, like Ilya Dragunov, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. He's just, I don't know, he's just different. He's kind of that guy that NXT should probably want to keep on top of their roster. If WWE, SmackDown, or Raw wants to draft them, be like, you know what? Guess what? No, that's not going to happen. And, in terms of the draft, I feel like this year NXT is going to probably get a say as well. NXT is not that kind of the minor leagues, kind of the minor league developmental, kind of area. Although it does serve a purpose like that, obviously. But with this new, deal with the CW, plus you're going out there and you're going to try to sell out arenas, you're going to have top stars. So, and Triple H Paul Levesque even said himself in an interview saying that NXT is becoming its own brand. You know what I mean? It's not really going to be, like I said, not really like going to be a developmental territory for SmackDown or Raw. So Trick Williams, I feel like he's there to stay. I really would hate if WWE would take Trick Williams out of NXT because I feel like that'd be bad for WWE NXT, B bad for Trick Williams, and C bad for WWE as a whole. Sure, the NXT is branching out and being its own entity, but at the same time, it's still your revenue, dude. It's still your show. It's still your Jones, homie. So at the same time, you kind of have to take care of it. You got to coddle it. You got to, that's your baby. Especially Triple H. Triple H used to be in Shawn Michaels' shoes. He used to be the CEO of NXT, and which was probably the best era of NXT that I've ever watched. So now we have a two-time Trick Williams champion addressing the WWE Universe. Going to be interesting to find out what he has to say. Interesting to see if All Ego Ethan Page will demand, a rematch. He has a rematch clause. I did see not Trick Williams, sorry, excuse me. I did see All Ego Ethan Page on Monday Night Raw, and just seeing him backstage and the way he kind of ultimately presents himself, I think he kind of belongs on Raw. That would be kind of cool to kind of see that. Seeing him fight against Trick Williams, and I'm not trying to, sound like I'm not trying to be a dapper. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to, diminish the wrestling value that Ethan Page has because he came from AEW. I just ultimately feel like the feud they had was a little, was a little stale. You know what I mean? Like it was cool because you had that 9 to 5 worker kind of guy to go out there. He was family oriented like Trick Williams. Then you had the white collar guy, Ethan Page, that was kind of like, I kind of made a lot of freak. What was I made a lot of, comparisons to like he reminds me of a heel or a bad guy you would see on like a Marvel movie or like a DC movie where he would, he dresses the part, he's has a lot, obviously has all ego, and you can't like I don't know, he wants to rule the world. He does everything in his power to win. He does everything in his power to make sure his opponents or the people that oppose him suffer. And like watching Trick Williams win the championship last week on the CW, it was cool, and just that magic that Trick Williams had on screen. You saw the fans get into it. I don't see him losing the championship anytime soon. But then again, I don't really see him. I don't really see Ethan Page challenging like guys like Oba Femi for the WWE NXT North American Championship. So tonight, obviously, is a pretty damn big deal. We have an NXT Women's Championship. Roxanne, Perez, and Cora Jade will speak, finding out if they're going to pursue themselves as tag team competitors. Maybe, perhaps, a little Stephanie McCure also, is going to be, broadcasted tonight. But Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade are expected to kind of be like that Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, or maybe Cora Jade just surprises the hell out of us and is like, you know what? Since I helped you win that championship belt, I want the shot. And now we have Randy Orton. Randy Orton comes to NXT to battle Javon Evans. This should be a good match. This is going to be an amazing match. I know that Javon Evans probably isn't gonna pick up the dub because he's still very young. He still has a lot of room to grow. On WWE NXT, I think Randy Orton's going to win. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be one of those matches where, you know, he loses, but at the same time he kind of wins. Having that experience going out there, also, being in that kind of turmoil of the match and having a lot of physical scrutiny, the physicality, also, the mind games that Randy Orton can play inside the squared circle during the match is going to be a great way to show that Javon Evans is indeed maturing as a professional wrestler. So, I think the Vipers are going to pick up the win, but overall, Javon Evans will pick up the respect, which sometimes is, a little bit more important. So it should be pretty interesting. Next, we have a tag team match, and this tag team match is so damn important because this could be possibly the breakup of A-Town Down Under. I think it's time to break them up. Axiom, well, Fraxium, which is kind of crazy. Nathan Fraser and Axiom have been, in my opinion, and I know I have done this over and over and over and over again, constantly betting against them. I thought the OC was going to dethrone them. Chase U obviously did the second time, but the first time I thought they were going to. But these guys are special. These guys aren't going to be taken, as chumps. You had MSK coming out there trying to dethrone them. Didn't really happen. I think the universe of NXT, me myself, definitely, could definitely speak on behalf of this, revelation. I have fallen in love with what Nathan Fraser and Axiom are doing inside the ring. You haven't had an NXT Tag Team Champions, kind of be this way. in a long time. And I feel like for WWE to kind of usher in this new era of the NXT on the CW, you kind of have to keep the belts going with Nathan Fraser and Axiom. I don't want to see Grayson Waller win. Austin Theory, I want to see him win in singles competition. But Grayson Waller's a joke. And I'm sorry, and I know it's a hot take alert. Ever since he debuted in WWE, the Grayson Waller effect, yeah, it's cool and everything. Kind of reminds me of like a reboot, younger Australian kind of failure of Y2J, Chris Jericho. He kind of plays that same part. And I don't see this guy really, I feel like maybe he was promoted too quick, maybe. Perhaps that could be the diagnostic or whatever. But Austin Theory is ready. Like I believe he's been inside WWE on the main roster. He has a couple of years, tenure. He was Vince McMahon's last guy. He had the money to bring briefcase, ultimately lost his chance at, cashing in. But this needs to end, for the betterment of both competitors. You need them to end. You need a Grayson Waller to kind of reboot himself as a professional wrestler. The way his character is portrayed right now, I don't like it. I don't think it's going really anywhere. I would like to see him kind of go toward a dark turn, kind of like a heel, which would be perfect when attacking his partner Austin Theory. And Austin Theory, but he keeps over and over again. He keeps falling for it. Falling for Grayson Waller's apologies. After it all, after it's all said and done, Grayson Waller will blame Austin Theory and all the losses, and you're going to see a nice little feud between those two. But Nathan Fraser and Axiom should be able to retain tonight. Tony D'Angelo challenges Oba Femi for the NXT North American Championship title. Tony D'Angelo admitted to his family that he's scared. It takes a lot of cojones from a man to admit he's scared to compete against another competitor. Oba Femi is absolutely out of this world good, and there was a promo that Tony D'Angelo did with Adriana Rizzo, I think it was, and Adriana Rizzo was like, you know what, Tony, if you lose, it doesn't matter. We're so proud of you. And that's something that Tony D'Angelo really had to hear. I feel like Oba Femi he's too strong, he's too big, he's too over right now. Tony D'Angelo recently coming off of a Heritage Cup championship loss against Charlie Dempsey, thanks to Ren Sinclair of the No Quarter Catch crew. I don't know. I don't really see it happening. I don't really. Tony D'Angelo would be an amazing North American champion, but right now, Oba Femi, it's going to take somebody bigger than Tony D'Angelo. And I'm not saying the dawn of the NXT is, I'm not trying to diminish his value at all on the roster, but overall, it's going to take somebody bigger than big to defeat Oba Femi. And he's going to get that longest reigning NXT North American Championship, reign. So I don't know. It should be interesting to find out how good the match is. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be a great match. But Oba Femi is going to come up the victor and retain the NXT North American Championship. And lastly, we have Keilani Jordan teaming up with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill against Fatal Influence. Once again, this is kind of just a flex. You have the champions are going to destroy the Fatal Influence, kind of a bootleg of the Pure Fusion Collective, which is, not really sad. But once again, it's kind of like, all right, NXT, you're trying to promote young talent. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, they're too good right now. They're way too over with the WWE to lose anything. Keilani Jordan, it's still, kind of on the fence of, she's an amazing North American Women's Champion by all means. No one's taking that away from her. But at the same time, she's trying to make the title prestigious. Um, you know, it's going to take somebody big to kind of dethrone her as well. I would love to kind of see somebody like the name of like maybe Julia, challenges her. Maybe perhaps you have somebody from TNA come to as well, like Ash by Elegance would be pretty badass. But overall, it should be an awesome episode of NXT tonight. So make sure you tune in. All right, guys. Now we're going to briefly talk about some AEW Dynamite. It is Title Tuesday. Going to preview. We're going to talk about some of the matches. Kind of go through an in-depth analysis. So hey, do not go anywhere.